Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a story that, well, it really pushes the limits of what we think the human mind can do, and maybe even what's out there in space. We're talking about remote viewing, this idea that you can perceive things far away, unseen, just using your mind. And specifically, we're focusing on Ingo Swann, maybe the most famous remote viewer ever. His stories are wild, involving secret government stuff and even claims about alien bases on the moon.
Exactly. It's quite a rabbit hole. So for this deep dive, our plan is basically to break it all down. We'll start with what remote viewing actually is, how it supposedly works and how the government got involved. Then we'll get into Ingo Swann's really striking predictions, one in particular that was verified and kind of blew people away. And finally, we'll tackle those controversial moon viewings he reported. What did he claim he saw, and what are the mysteries still hanging around that? It really makes you question things.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Now, remote viewing. Some listeners might know the term maybe from stories about Cold War psychic spying. But for anyone less familiar, what are we actually talking about here? What is remote viewing fundamentally?
Right. So at its core, remote viewing is trying to get information, impressions about a target, could be a place, an object, an event that's distant or hidden. You're doing it subjectively, using your mind, basically.
Yeah.
Extrasensory perception, or ESP, is a broader category.
Sensing with the mind.
Yeah, exactly. And the key thing why agencies got interested was the stated purpose: to get specific information, not just vague feelings, but details about something hidden far away that you couldn't see normally.
So actionable intelligence potentially. And this wasn't just like a theory someone had. You mentioned government involvement, and our sources say this was real documented stuff back in the 70s.
Oh, absolutely. It's very well documented, actually.
Yes.
Remote viewers definitely worked with the government in the 70s. This leads us to the famous, or maybe infamous, Stargate project.
Stargate. Sounds like pure sci-fi.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it was a real U.S. Army unit codename, set up officially in 1978, Fort Meade, Maryland. It was a joint thing between the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, and SRI International Stanford Research Institute.
Okay, the DIA. That tells you it wasn't a small side project. What was Stargate trying to do? Just test if psychic powers were real or something more?
The main goal was investigating psychic phenomena, mostly remote viewing, to see if it had practical uses: military, domestic intelligence applications. Could it be a tool?
A tool for spying, essentially.
For intelligence gathering, yeah. Especially in situations where normal methods wouldn't work or were too dangerous.
Yeah.
And tried to make it rigorous. Ingo Swann, who we're focusing on, was actually key in developing a specific method called controlled remote viewing, or CRV.
CRV.
Yeah, and involves stages, starting broad, like sensing biological or man-made structure, then getting more and more specific, like building a mental picture step by step. That systematic approach was what Stargate was trying to develop and use.
Okay, so this Stargate project is trying to harness this ability, and Ingo Swann is central to developing the method. Here's where it gets really interesting for me. How did Swann become known as, the most recognized and respected remote viewer, if it was all secret government work?
Well, part of it is his later work, like his book Penetration, published in '98, where he called himself a CIA psychic spy. But his reputation, his real credibility within those circles, was cemented much earlier by a specific event.
He co-created the method, you said, with Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff.
Yes, Targ and Puthoff, right. They were the researchers at SRI who were instrumental in the early experiments and program development alongside Swann. But the event that really established Swann, it was pretty extraordinary.
What was it? What did he do?
Okay, get this. Before NASA's Voyager 1 spacecraft went to Jupiter in 1979, before it sent back any pictures, Ingo Swann was asked to remote view the planet.
Okay.
And he managed to accurately detail and describe a ring around Jupiter.
Wait, a ring? Around Jupiter, but didn't we think only Saturn had winds back then?
Exactly. That's the whole point. Scientists at the time had no idea. Jupiter had a ring system. It was completely unexpected. Then Voyager 1 flies by in '79, sends back images, and bam, there's the ring, just as Swann described it.
Wow.
Yeah. You can imagine, this obviously shocked the overseers of the experiment and the government. It was a verifiable hit, something unknown to science, apparently perceived purely through his mind. It really forces you to think about how we can even know things, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If he could do that, see something across hundreds of millions of miles that our best instruments hadn't found yet.
Well, it makes you wonder what else he might have been asked to look at. What was the next step after something so audacious?
Well, exactly. After the Jupiter success, Swann was given an even, let's say, stranger task: remote viewing the moon.
The moon. Okay.
Specifically the far side, the side we never see from Earth. And here's a critical detail. He was apparently given 10 different sets of coordinates, just numbers. And crucially, our source says he did not know that these coordinates were on the moon.
He didn't know he was looking at the moon. Nope, just abstract targets. Which, according to him, led to this unearthly extraterrestrial experience and presence.
So what did he see when he focused on these coordinates without knowing the location?
He described seeing craters in darkness. And apparently, he quickly figured out, just from the visuals he was getting mentally, that he was looking at the dark side of the moon, even though nobody told him. That immediate recognition was pretty telling for him.
Okay, so he identified the location himself. That's significant. But what about the surface? Any signs of anything unusual?
That's where it gets really weird. He first reported seeing what he described as, quote, trails of tractor tread marks on the lunar surface.
Tractor treads on the moon.
That's the description. Our source material links this to possible mining vehicles. And it even claims that, this is the kind of detail NASA sometimes blurs out in photos. Just the idea of vehicle tracks is, what's out there?
Yeah, that's pretty mind-bending. But you mentioned he saw more than just tracks, something suggesting intelligent activity in structures.
Yes. This is the core of the really controversial part. He reported looking into a deep crater and seeing a green, dusty haze, but it was lit by banks of artificial lights mounted on very large, tall towers.
Artificial lights. Towers. On the moon.
That's what he claimed to perceive. Not just random lights, but structures. Towers with lights. And this led him to what he called a stunning realization. His words were something like, someone or something had appeared to be building a base down on the moon.
A base built by someone or something. That implies an active, ongoing presence, not the dead rock we usually imagine.
Precisely. And it gets even more intense. Swan reported feeling something else. He realized that there was an extraterrestrial presence on the moon that was sensing him as he remote viewed.
They sensed him, like mentally.
It was almost as if he came in contact mentally with an extraterrestrial presence. They knew he was looking. And this led Swan to conclude something about his mission. He figured out that he was being used by the government, specifically by his handler, this mysterious Mr. Axelrod, basically to physically spy on these alien moon bases.
Why? Why use him?
According to Swan's understanding, as relayed by the source, it was because the extraterrestrials had been less than friendly about conventional human curiosity, implying maybe our probes or astronauts got too close or were warned off somehow. Using a psychic spy was perhaps sneakier.
Okay, this is raising a huge question for me. If Swan is reporting alien bases, towers, lights, and even feeling this presence sensing him back, what happened next? Did they shut it down, double down?
The story goes that right after Swan discovered some kind of life form or humanoid that had sensed his presence, the operation was suddenly terminated. Just stopped. Everyone sent home.
Suddenly terminated. Wow. Did Swan ask why, or if these beings were dangerous?
He did. He apparently asked his handler, Axelrod, if these guys are dangerous. And the response he got was, well, very non-committal. Just, there's no conclusive evidence.
No conclusive evidence. That's hardly reassuring after reporting contact with an alien base that knows you're spying on it.
Exactly. It sounds like a brush-off. And this theme of secrecy, or maybe suppression, continued. Swan later tried to publish his experiences in his book, Penetration.
Right, the one he self-published.
Yeah, and according to him, he had to self-publish because over 20 publishers rejected it. He believed this was due to government intervention, an effort to keep this information quiet.
So he felt actively suppressed.
He did. And the source material frames his book as dealing directly with this alleged cover-up, the government's military, science, and media cover-up of UFOs in general, lunar activity, and psychic phenomena, telepathy in particular. It paints a picture of a broad effort to control the narrative.
And Swan wasn't the only top remote viewer involved in looking at things like this, was he? There is another name mentioned, Pat Price.
Yes, Pat Price. Described as one of the only other best remote viewers alongside Swan. And interestingly, Price had also apparently remote viewed the moon, even before Swan did.
And what happened to him?
Well, tragically, Pat Price died suddenly and rather painfully in 1975. This was before Stargate officially started. But right around the time Swan was doing the Jupiter stuff, Price was known to be very interested in UFOs, including potential alien activity on the moon. And the source notes that, quote, some think that his death had a correlation to what Mr. Swan was tasked in doing, suggesting maybe that looking too closely at these lunar activities was dangerous. It adds a pretty dark layer to the whole story.
It really does. And, what's fascinating here is how all this, the psychic spying, the alleged alien bases, the potential dangers, the cover-ups, it all feeds into that lingering question people ask. Why have we never been back to the moon? Not since Apollo ended back in the 70s,
Right.
where we warned off. You hear claims, our sources mention them too, that even astronauts reported seeing craft and UFOs on the moon during their moonwalks, if any of that is true.
It changes everything, doesn't it? And the source material we looked at suggests Swan's claims aren't totally isolated. It mentions that his statements have been correlated with the evidence that we've posted on this channel about alien activity happening on the moon.
What kind of evidence?
Things like alleged bases, towers, sightings of objects flying on the moon in official NASA video film footage.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes the pretty bold claim of NASA's blatant airbrushing out and blurring of these structures, essentially saying there's visual stuff out there that backs up Swan's psychic reports if you know where to look or how to interpret it.
So there are resources for people who want to dig deeper.
Yeah, for anyone interested, the source mentioned a free PDF version of Swan's book Penetration is apparently available online, and also a PDF published by the Stanford Institute about the remote viewing program itself, which might give a more official perspective on the research side.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've gone from the surprisingly documented Stargate project to Ingo Swan's incredible verified prediction about Jupiter's rings.
Which really lent credibility to the whole idea, at least for those involved.
Right. And then into these deeply unsettling, controversial claims about alien bases, towers, lights, even being sensed by beings on the moon's far side. All followed by sudden project termination and alleged cover-ups. It really challenges our basic ideas about reality, perception, and maybe what we're being told.
It absolutely does. And if you connect all these dots, the Jupiter success, the Lunar claims, the secrecy, the Pat Price story, it leaves you wondering, what if the biggest secrets aren't just light years away? What if some of the most profound mysteries lie hidden in the potential of our own minds? And, maybe more disturbingly, in the secrets governments might be keeping about what's happening much closer to home, maybe even right next door, cosmically speaking.
A powerful thought to end on. We really encourage you, the listener, to check out the sources if this sparked your interest, look into Swan's book, The SRI Documents, and form your own conclusions. Keep an open mind, but a critical one too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.